Hey everybody, once again, Craig DeLuz here at the Gun Rights Policy Conference 2017. I'm here with Maj Toure of Black Guns Matter, someone who's really done a lot to bring the gun rights movement to folks who haven't heard it, especially haven't heard it the way in which he presents it. So Maj, I want to thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Much
Tell
appreciated.
us a little bit about the work that you're doing.
We're, traveling. Currently, we're on a 50-state tour. We're going to every, urban area in America, every single state, to just, get people in those, high gun control, high crime areas, more information about the Second Amendment, more information about how they can be, safe and responsible firearm owners. Even guys that are felons and women that are felons, okay, you may not be able to purchase firearms, but, you can at least teach your children of if they're at school or at a park and they come across a firearm, what not to do. Mm-hmm. So along those lines, we deal with that. We deal with the cultural component that a lot of times is left out, especially in urban demographics, and just being a service to people and trying to generate business for trainers, lawyers, gun ranges in that demographic. So that's just what we do.
See, I see the work that you do as more of you're a modern day civil rights activist. Mm-hmm. Some people want to talk about civil rights, and they don't want to talk about civil rights to understand that it's really about the rights that are available to all of us, and and we enumerate some of those in the Constitution through the Bill of Rights. Right. And the second one is the Second Amendment, the right to keep and bear arms.
Right.
It seems like in particular in urban communities are under attack in many cases from within.
Yep.
And you have to be able to, it seems like almost nonsensical to say, okay, well, we know your community is under attack, yet we're going to disarm the law-abiding citizens.
Right, because they don't care that the community is under attack. They want it to be under attack to the extent that it doesn't affect them.
Right.
They want it to be under attack to the point where they can control the lion's share of the resources. That's not justice. That's tyranny. I mean, that's financial tyranny. That's oppressing my personal ability to defend my human right to defend my life. And it's actually can I cuss?
Sure.
Yeah. It's actually the height of fuckery. Because it's designed specifically to keep people, enslaved and not having the power to make decisions and choices for themselves, and tricking people into believing that the policies that they're voting for are actually in their benefit when they're tremendously to their detriment.
Well, and the worst part is they don't even know, because in many cases you see a legislator sit down and they're reading from a piece of paper. They don't even know what their bill does.
Right.
It's sad when I sit there and I'm a lobbyist and I sit there and I know more about what their bill does than they do.
Right.
And they don't really care what their bill does. They don't care about the impact of it. They're just like, well, is this going to get me positive media attention or not?
So they're more of a negative definition of a politician. Technically, I'm a politician, right? Because I politic. I go around and figure out what's best for my hood. What's most productive and most effective. How can we respect everyone's rights and at the same time get most people what they need while respecting individual rights? That's a balancing act that the general public, as we know it, hasn't seen pretty much maybe since like on a national level since maybe Kennedy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So with that being the case, they don't have a vested interest because they have in the community because they have a vested interest just in themselves. Right. They want to stay at this mansion. They want to live here for the term and and all those different things. But it's not about the Constitution for them, and it should be.
Do you find that your message makes them uncomfortable?
Yeah, I'm glad it makes them uncomfortable. You should be uncomfortable.
Do you find that your message sometimes makes the people who live in the community uncomfortable?
Not at all. The people that live in the community, once you give them the information, the other side has been effective because they kind of like limiting what your choices are. They say you have 1, 2, and 3. Right. But behind them is like 3 through 38.
Right.
And so we're going picking 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3 are not very productive. So when I come through going, yo, it's 35 other choices. Give me your hand. See these other 35 choices that he was hiding? And the hood goes, okay. So no, it's not comfortable for the hood because I'm from the same place that they from.
But they're still more likely to reelect that same exact person.
Not after I get done with them. Not after they come to our classes. We've had 70-year-old women that have. And I hate to play party politics, but historically, in urban areas, we tend to vote Democratic, Democrat, whatever. I've had 70-year-old women that have come to our classes that have never shot before, and we have a further conversation about politics and how this is tied in, and why this, that, and the third, and the famous people that you admire actually were Republican, if that's their beef, or who they think that they have the beef with. And after that conversation, not only do they shoot for the first time, but they also have a different spin, and you can't replug that person back into that matrix.
See, I've always been under the position that the biggest challenge that we have in the black community is that it is not, we shouldn't all be Republican, we shouldn't all be Democrat. What we should be is based on the issues.
Right.
We ought to be looking at who's going to best benefit, which positions are best going to benefit our families, our communities.
Right.
And that's how we ought to make our decisions. When we sell out to one side, we take ourselves off the table.
Right. You actually, the Democratic Party will just say, well, we got the black vote. Don't even have to really even do anything for them. That's one. Two, when people are doing that, and we traditionally have we voted out of tradition or fear.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't want this person. You don't even know that person. Their policies, you don't know what bills they supported. You have no idea. But the definition of politics, which we aren't doing, is, securing, maintaining, and expanding your interests.
Right.
We're not doing that because we're voting out of fear and tradition.
Right.
So it's made it very. And I fell victim to that. As recent as 2008, I voted for Obama because I believed it.
That's
the PR team, the PR spin was amazing.
Right.
And as a man, as a writer, as a lawyer, I think he's a great dude. To even be able to endure that level of criticism, I honor it, because I would have been smacked somebody.
Right.
So I honor that. However, we still got to tie this back into the policy.
Policy is what it ultimately comes down to.
Right. So it's like, oh man, this is great to see. Someone up from a hood like mine to do this. Oh man, the most powerful office in the world. And then you were going against what George W. Bush was doing, but the first thing that you do, not what you said you was going to do, close Guantanamo Bay.
Right.
You reinstitute the Patriot Act. Oh, I'm good. I'm cool. I'm good. I'm off that. That policy that you just re-upped on.
Right.
And I see that, and I see how the other side will manipulate that. So if President Trump. And people can agree or disagree with a president. You might not like him. You may like her, whatever. President Trump, then, immigration reform pops off.
Right.
And Congress has had decades to deal with this. Trump made it an act,
right,
which isn't the systems of checks and balances. And then so now Trump has the ability to re-up on it. And he goes, nah, I'm going to make Congress do it. That's their job.
Right.
Make it a law.
Right.
Don't leave it to me to make another act or an order which is outside of the system of checks and balances. But I study civics. The general public, and then the media says, oh, he just doesn't like people, Latin people. He doesn't like immigrants. No, bro. This is actually what happened. So what we do at Black Guns Matter, saying all of this to say, is we have that holistic conversation. It starts at Second Amendment, but that's one of them. Then there's these other amendments and rights and amendments and whatever, and we have that, from a cultural, from a hood, from a practical, and from a political standpoint, without pretending like some of these disparaging differences don't exist.
Well, it's, and the thing is, and this is, one of our mottos, or one of my mottos has always been, look, it's about civil rights.
Right.
And if you don't use them, you're going to lose them.
Yep.
And when you look at what they're doing in California and in other states, where it's not just about taking away your Second Amendment rights, it's about, we're going to take away your First Amendment rights,
Yep.
we're going to take away your right to due process, we're going to take away your private property rights, we're going to take your right against unreasonable search and seizure. Why? Because guns.
Right.
We're not going to allow you to put a picture of a handgun on the outside of your gun store.
Right.
We're not going to allow you to advertise on these billboards anything relating to firearms.
Yep.
If someone believes that you are a danger to yourself or others, we're going to hold a secret hearing that you can't go to. You're going to lose your gun rights. We're going to send sheriff out with a warrant to take all your guns.
Right.
All of these things are all happening, and people feel like it's okay because, well,
The
guns.
government said so.
And the biggest challenge that I have to it is, in many cases, like a lot of the laws that were just passed in California, they're going to impact people who look like me and you more
First.
because they're not going to go out and actively enforce these laws. They're going to enforce these laws with people they encounter.
Right.
And every study has shown that
They encounter us
young
more.
black and brown males are more likely to have run-ins with law enforcement.
Right.
So the war on drugs that has proven to be a failure, that many people believe has been instituted to try and lock up black and brown men. Well, guess
13th
what?
Amendment.
The war on guns is the new war on drugs.
Right. And so that the beautiful and ugly, something I call it beautiful, ugly is the thing that the beautiful thing is it'll be galvanizing across all racial backgrounds. Because my white homies, I'm like, yeah, you was safe.
Right.
They fucking with yours too now.
I always say, and see in California, I always say gun control laws were always meant to make sure that those people don't have guns, right? In the 1850s, it was Native Americans.
Yep.
In the 1920s, it was Chinese and Mexicans. In the 1960s, it was the Black Panthers. Today, it's all of us. If
See-
you are not part of the elite that can afford armed guards or are friends with the sheriff,
Yep.
then you are those people,
Right.
and you don't deserve your rights as far as they're concerned.
And that's the reason why we've made such progress at BGM. Because even though it's called Black Guns Matter, we're talking about firearms. We're talking about urban demographics they're a melting pot.
Yeah.
I got white homies, Spanish homies, Asian homies, Arab homies, Muslim homies, Christian homies, Jewish homies. And all of those people that don't fit that mold of elite, they starting to see. Like I'm telling them, like, yo, bro, that ain't that. It's no different than what I do. When people go, well, you go into those places where that's really for white dudes. No, it's not. Once that rule is that rule, I got the hood. It doesn't say, oh, this is the rule for everybody but the people in the hood.
Right.
I'm just going to be hip to what the game is.
Right.
So I'm going to support the organizations whose job is to fight and defend, our rights on a national level because my organization isn't large enough. You know what I mean? So then I'm going to come get a game back to the hood. Look, this is how they're going to try to get you here. We need to boycott this spot because they in support of this candidate, and that candidate is down with that.
Right.
So it's a holistic approach to attack. Right? Too long we've been on defense. You know what I'm saying? And being on defense for too long, man. Defense win championships, but you got to score.
You got to score. It don't matter how many points. If they score 1 point, you score nothing, you still lose. And that's, in places, once again, like California, New York, Massachusetts, biggest challenge I have is folks keep wanting to retreat. They all, I'm leaving California, I'm moving. I'm like, no, you don't understand.
I am moving.
Politics is war.
Right.
Right? War is about taking ground.
You giving up ground.
If you are constantly in retreat, you're not winning that war. Just because you are more concentrated in Wyoming and Idaho and Utah, you're losing the war.
You
in the
flanked
long run.
on a bunch of sides. You
Right.
surrounded, and you are isolated. And isolation is dangerous. And fuck that. You should be able to live wherever you want to live because
Right.
you are the people.
Right.
The weather in Cali is amazing. Southern California, cuz I am going to get a place in California. They be like, oh, Maj, you going to move? Yeah. And I'm going to rumble. I'm going to give, Bill over at Last Stand Tactical, I'm going to get him some energy.
Right.
You know what I mean? My homies is in Jersey. I was in New Jersey SafeCon last week. I'm going to go to Jersey. I've done Tom Bolioli and, the guys over at Com2A in Massachusetts.
Right.
We've worked with them.
Right.
We don't run. Like, we talk, after all of the Kaepernick situation, everybody talking about the colors and we stand and, okay, in theory, about a piece of cloth, okay, everybody's up in arms. But when it's time to actualize, we're talking about practice, not theory.
Right.
In actual practice, what are you doing? You're telling people to, make California Elysium, where there's only a certain type of people that can experience this weather and this vegetation and things of that nature. And that's contrary. That's not American. And if you're saying you're a patriot, you shouldn't be telling people to run.
No.
Don't be telling people to run. That's common. That's every demographic. You know what I mean? I don't care if you white, rich. No, go outside and fight. Don't just run in the house and come get me.
Well, I mean, ultimately, the people are responsible for their freedom.
Right.
Every generation is going to have to fight for their America.
Right.
And if I don't fight, then my son has to fight the fight that I didn't fight
Yep.
on top of fighting his own. And that's what I always tell folks, man. I'm like, it's important that we fight the fight, because if I'm not fighting it, if we're not fighting it in California, then they're fighting it in Nevada, or they're fighting it in Texas,
Yep.
or my son's fighting it, or my grandson or granddaughter are fighting it.
Right.
This is not a thing that's ever, they're never going to stop.
No.
If they lose, they ain't going to stop. If
Right.
they win, they ain't going to stop. So why do we seem to think that, well, hey, we can just, kick back and chill because I moved, to America?
Because Trump won, and we were so used to having an anti-gun person in that seat that we get comfortable. Comfort is the great maker of cowards.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Jason Taylor in his Hall of Fame induction speech said that ease is the enemy of growth.
Mm-hmm.
When things are easy, you don't grow. You don't have to.
Look at the slump in gun sales. And I see media outlets trying to say it like, yeah, the sales are up. No, they're not. Interest is up.
Right.
CCWs are up. And not to sound arrogant, but that's a major part of that is because of the work that we doing.
Right.
Not because we chilling and resting on our laurels, but because we on this 50-state tour. Because if people didn't want that, I mean, people have donated to our GoFundMe close to $70,000 at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't wait until we got to our goal of $150,000.
Right.
We started in Baltimore with like $800. Like we just drove to Baltimore.
Right.
If the people didn't really want this, then they wouldn't be, buying the hoodies and the T-shirts. And I'm not saying that like, we've made just $100 million. I'm just saying that that's an indication of the pulse of the people.
All right, well, that's it. Once again, thank you to Maj Toure from Black Guns Matter. Go to his website, hook him up. Look, folks, doing this work is not free. And I know you're all like, I know you guys get hit up by all of the gun rights groups for money, but here's the deal. The work does not do itself, and it doesn't just happen for free. So if you believe in what Maj is talking about, if you believe in the effort that he's doing, then you need to get out and you need to support it. Once again, this is Craig DeLuz coming at you from the Gun Rights Policy Conference 2017 in Dallas, Texas. We'll see you soon.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.